and Arizona just went final score there. Arizona 69, UCLA 65. Guys, there's a couple of players on that floor tonight that could be playing in that arena in less than a year. That's how physical this game was between these two. Wildcats now with 2 ranked wins on the season. Rob, I'll let you get the first crack at this one. What were your initial reactions after this one went final?
Well, my initial thoughts was the line 7, 4, 6, and 4. That was Koa Pete tonight. 7 points, 4 rebounds, 6 turnovers, and 4 fouls. And the narrative that felt like was kind of building around this Arizona team was that you have this stud freshman in Koa Pete, and you have some of these other pieces around him, but this is Koa Pete's team, and this is built around another one of these great freshmen that we see in college basketball this year. And that's not what played out at all tonight. I mean, he didn't play well. It's going to happen. You got a huge front line that UCLA is rolling out there. You got a bunch of really good players. Tyler Bilodeau is a veteran. Eric Daly is a veteran. And this was Anthony Dell'Orso in the first half coming through. I think he had 13 of his 20 in the first half. And then Jaden Bradley down the stretch. He had 2 buckets at the rim. He had a step back 3. He had that floater at the end to put him up by 4 where he beat Den off the dribble and just flicked it up over the top of Tyler Bilodeau, who was trying to block that shot. And I mean, he did the same thing against Florida, right? Like, we can talk about some of these other pieces on that roster, but I think the key to what has made this Arizona team as good as they are this early in the season is the fact that they got a point guard and a guy who wants the ball down the stretch and has proven in games against the reigning national champions Florida and against UCLA in Los Angeles that he can make those plays down the stretch.
Dallin, I want to read to you on this. You guys talked about this last night, this game, and you kind of prefaced it by saying, look, if Arizona can get up and down, this was going to be a long night for UCLA. They want to slow down the game, UCLA, limit possessions. By and large, they did that. This was a UCLA game, but Arizona still came out on top.
They got the pace they wanted. It's easier to slow down a game than it is to speed one up. So this tends to happen. I think last year they played this game as 57-54. I think the final was. Like, that's, you're going to end up in a meat grinder. A lot of times you're playing a Mick Cronin team, and that's what happened here. The difference was down the stretch, they got out executed in the half court, and that's where you tip your hat to Arizona. Arizona was down with 7 or 8 points there with about 5 or 6 minutes to go. They got a couple stops. UCLA was hurting them on some ball screen action. Dent started to get going. They tightened things up a little bit. Their switches helped them a little bit. And then once, to your point, Rob, once it got to winning time there, it was Jaden Bradley again. And as great as Koa Pete was in that Florida game, it was Bradley late game making a couple plays that won him the game. And again, here, they got caught in a switch. UCLA switched a number of times where Sky Clark was on bigs. One time Koa Pete turned it over. One time he missed a shot. There were times they weren't recognizing if they were switching and they had a big on a little. Well, Bradley recognized it right away. They got into Krivas. Krivas took his time, got the help, kicked it back out. Bradley hits a huge 3 to put them up. Next possession, he refuses the screen, gets downhill with his right hand. And that finish, guys, that ain't easy. It didn't touch his left hand. He scoops that thing up with supreme touch and a huge moment. Bradley really stepped up again. He is their guy. He is their closer. But they did it with defense to get right back in it at the end. Then they out-executed him 4 for 4 down the stretch the last 4 possessions. They scored all four field goals. And then Dell'Orso making a couple free throws. Rob, you mentioned him. Last thing I will say is without Dell'Orso, they don't win this game. Forget his 20 points overall. Yep. They desperately needed him in the first half, bro. Like the first half, they were shook offensively. And he came in with confidence, hit some threes, hit that step back, gave them a little life, got one in transition on a little hesitation, and reversed it. They needed him desperately in that first half to kind of right the ship. As Pete was struggling and trying to figure it out, somebody had to step up. So Dell'Orso in the first half and then your closer Bradley in the second half were outstanding.
Yeah, I want to talk about that shot real quick, Dallin, the floater that you're talking about. Like, that is not an easy shot to make. When you're going full speed with a guy on your hip and it's only in your right hand, your left hand never touches the ball, and you got the ability to, with the touch off the glass, to just kind of flick it up over a 7-footer trying to block that shot with, by the way, like 30 seconds left in a game between 2 top 15 teams on national television, right? Like the ability to make that shot is not something that should be overlooked. And the fact that he's done this over and over again so far this season makes me believe that this is the new Jaden Bradley. Like, if he's going to be this guy that can close games for you, that wants the ball in those situations, I think that that's a game changer for what the ceiling is for this Arizona team. We know they're going to guard. We know Koa Pete's a stud. We know they got some shooters. But if Jaden Bradley can be that dude down the stretch, man, that's a difference maker.
And they're tough too, man. The physicality of this game was real, and they were not at all bothered by that. They out-physicaled Florida in the first game, and this team can play in different ways. Krivas does adjust a lot of shots for guys, a walk up like the Heat. Whether they're blocking shots, they do contest a lot of stuff at the rim that really affected the Gators in their first game. They were an impact today in today's game, and it was an absolute battle. And you got to tip your hat to UCLA. They didn't play well, and they were in this game. They played well for about 10 minutes. That first half, that ball was just freaking everywhere. I mean, they could not stop turning it over. And when they got a shot up, they made them. And that stretch where they didn't turn it over, and they got some good action off that middle pick and roll, they were able to take control of the game just briefly, but then they struggled. Arizona turned it up defensively, and that changed the tide.
We briefly touched upon Koa Pete, but 4 points in the first half, 7 total. It seemed like every time he got the ball, whether it was the low post, he was getting doubled right away. And sometimes there was 3-4 UCLA defenders around him. They were talking a little bit about on the broadcast about, maybe using him in some high-low, pick and roll situations, getting him going downhill, which we saw later in the game. But did UCLA figure out a recipe maybe to stop a guy like Koa Pete? Is there anything you can take away from that?
I don't know if it's necessarily a recipe, but I think they just kind of sent 2 guys at him and basically said, we're not going to let you beat us. And it took a little while for Arizona to figure out how to be able to adapt to that. I think the shooter bringing in Anthony Dell'Orso was a little bit of a game changer. Ivan Karchenkov, is that what it is? Karchenkov? Am I getting
Karchenkov. But you sound rolled right off your tongue, bro. It rolled right off your tongue.
Great. Oh yeah, it did. It did. Yeah, I sounded very smooth saying that. But he has not played well in the last couple of games. And Braden Burries didn't really shoot the ball. I think it was 1 for 9 tonight. So they got the shooter on the floor that when you start sending 2 guys at the post, now you got someone that's going to make you pay for that. And that's kind of what opened up the offense a little bit midway through the first half. But I mean, any team deals with this, right? If you got a star and the opposing defense says, hey, we're going to do everything we can to not let that guy beat us, and we're going to send 2 guys at him, you're going to be playing 3-on-4 everywhere else on the court, and you got to find a way to be able to get somebody else to make you pay for that. In the first half, it was Anthony Dell'Orso. In the second half, it was Jaden Bradley.
The thing that's obvious about how Mick Cronin's going to play this game is their help defense was great. I mean, they were helping constantly. At times it was a double. At times it was just they were going to help off whoever was there, and if you kick it out and you make the 3, they were going to live with it. Now that's a problem for Dell'Orso, but outside of that, they were not really scared of Burries making shots. I think he made his first 3, and that was, I think, kind of it. And then you're not that concerned with it. Their issue was we're not letting this young freshman in Koa Pete get to the rim and dominate this game the way he did the Gators. So we are going to collapse on him or make him kick that thing out. If he doesn't kick it out, we might force him into turnovers. And they did just that. Force him into 6 turnovers, frustrate him. He looked sped up. He looked like the game was moving too fast for him. And that happens to freshmen all the time, especially against a very good defensive team with a bunch of veterans. So their game plan worked well. But again, as Arizona's out-executed him down the stretch. But overall, that was the right way to play Koa Pete. It's not necessarily a recipe, I think, Sam. You got to have the right personnel to do it. And you got to commit to it and be like, all right, if they're going to make 3s, we're going to live with that. I think right now that's the way most teams would like to play them.
Yeah, I think we have to remember this is like the 4th game that he and Burries are playing. Like this is still very early on in the season, and we'll see how things transpire down the stretch. I want to get to the UCLA side of things in just a second, but what do you think was this a more impressive victory than the one over Florida? Which one was more impressive to you, Dell?
It's a good question. I think when we don't know what we're going to see, and like Koa Pete wasn't part of the discussion. Everyone knew he was good, but he wasn't in the same level of the Boozer, DeBonsa, the Peterson conversation we've been having. So that one I think was more surprising to see him assert himself like that, get 30 points, beat the defending national champs in the opening night of college basketball. That was kind of the marquee game. This was the marquee game of the night for sure. I think it was different. There was more competition. I think this win as a team is more impressive because that same dude was ineffective, and other guys had to step up. You had to do it in a very different way. They had to do it on the defensive end. They did it with a physical battle against an old rival that you're playing right down the street from Poly Pavilion. But they had a good crowd there too. That was a good atmosphere for a neutral game. I would much prefer these games be on campus sites. But as long as we got to see it, it's fine. But I think this game, when I look at it, this is less. It's not necessarily what we expected for them to win in this manner, but that's what they did.